The Flat Earth model contends that the Earth exists on a giant flat plane, with the Arctic or North Pole at the centre, and a giant wall of ice surrounding the entire disk and forming their circumference. Members of the Flat Earth Society claim to believe the Earth is flat. Walking around on the planet's surface, it looks and feels flat, so they deem all evidence to the contrary, such as satellite photos of Earth as a sphere, to be fabrications of round Earth conspiracy, orchestrated by NASA and other government agencies. The belief that the Earth is flat has been described as the ultimate conspiracy theory. According to the Flat Earth Society's leadership, its ranks have grown by 200 people per year since 2009. Judging by the efforts Flat Earthers have invested in throwing this theory out there, it would seem these people genuinely believe the Earth is flat. I'm not saying that any of these theories prove that the Earth is flat. I'm going to leave that for you to decide. The thermosphere. Some believe the number one reason why nothing has gone into space is because of the thermosphere. This atmospheric layer starts about 50 miles high, where temperatures start to rise until the Kármán line is reached at 62 miles. Beyond this point, the heat increases dramatically, rising rapidly up to 125 miles, where temperatures can reach 2,500 degrees. Here are some photos of NASA rocket and space shuttle launches, using long exposures to allow us to follow the craft for much longer than we get to see during the typical TV coverage. Some have pointed out the strange trajectories, saying that rockets are supposed to go straight up, not up and then immediately back down again. NASA's Robert Simon had this to say: "The last time anyone took a photograph from above low Earth orbit that showed an entire hemisphere was in 1972 during Apollo 17. NASA's Earth Observing System satellites were designed to give a checkup of Earth's health. By 2002 we finally had enough data to make a snapshot of the entire Earth, so we did. The hard part was creating a flat map of the Earth's surface with 4 months of satellite data." Rito Stockley, now at the Swiss Federal Office of Meteorology and Climatology, did much of this work. Robert Simon's part was integrating the surface, clouds and oceans to match people's expectations of how the Earth looks from space. That ball became the famous blue marble. A reduced gravity aircraft is a type of fixed-wing aircraft that provides brief near-weightlessness environments for training astronauts, conducting research and making gravity-free movie shots. Zero gravity is a condition of weightlessness referring to the absence of a gravitational force, a measurement of the acceleration due to gravity that causes weight. A body in a zero-gravity environment is acted upon only by gravity, with no reactionary forces exerted by its surrounding matter. The person therefore enters a state of freefall where all objects in that given space are falling at the same rate. Conspiracy theorists believe that instead of being on the International Space Station, astronauts are being filmed on these zero-gravity planes. A lot of flat earthers attempt to disprove the globe model by using pictures taken from high above the Earth with a flat horizon, therefore supposedly proving that the Earth is flat. After all, if the Earth is round, you should be able to see the curvature of the Earth. In actuality, no matter where you are and how high you are on the surface of the Earth, the horizon does indeed look like a flat line no matter where you look. A curvature should only appear if the Earth was cylindrical instead. The fact there even is a horizon to begin with should prove the Earth to be round by itself, since if the Earth were truly flat, then a sufficiently advanced telescope ought to be able to see all the way to the edge of the Earth. Admiral Richard E. Byrd was a courageous explorer who earned the trust of the US government. They sent him down to Antarctica on a military mission in 1947. He reported that in Antarctica he ran into UFOs, vehicles which could travel from one pole to another in less than an hour. Writing in his diary, he found his way into the centre of the Earth, where the temperature was warm, vegetation grew and a Nordic race of people lived. This was a hardened, rational military man writing such things. In an interview he also reveals that beyond the South Pole there was still much of Antarctica left unexplored, an area the size of the USA in fact. After this, governments of the world joined forces and made Antarctica off limits, and all trips there highly regulated. The natural physics of water is to find and maintain its level. If Earth were a giant spinning sphere tilting and hurling through space, then truly flat, consistently level surfaces would not exist here. there would be a massive bulge of water in the oceans because of the curvature of the Earth. If Earth was curved and spinning, the oceans of water would be flowing down to level and covering land. Some rivers would be impossibly flowing uphill. There would be massive water chaos and flooding. According to conspiracy theorists, what we would see and experience would be vastly different. But according to flat earthers, since Earth is in fact an extended flat plane, this fundamental physical property of fluids finding and remaining level is consistent with experience and common sense. The water remains flat because the Earth is flat. So we've looked at the supposed evidence that proves the Earth is flat. Now let's take a look at the evidence which proves the Earth is round. Regarding the thermosphere theory, temperatures increase with altitude due to absorption of highly energetic solar radiation. Temperatures are highly dependent on solar activity. The highly diluted gas in this layer can reach 2,500 degrees during the day. Even though the temperature is so high, one would not feel warm in the thermosphere, because it's so near vacuum that there is not enough contact with the few atoms of gas to transfer much heat. A normal thermometer might be significantly below 0 degrees, at least at night, because the energy lost by thermal radiation would exceed the energy acquired from the atmospheric gas by direct contact. One common argument used by flat earthers is that there is no real photos of the Earth. This is simply not true. There are many photos of the Earth, including photos which predate the equipment required to create fake images. According to optical researchers, while we can fool ourselves into thinking we see the curvature of the Earth from high mountains, this is usually wishful thinking. You should be able to detect it from an aeroplane at cruising height of around 10,600 meters, but you need a fairly wide field of view and a virtually cloud-free horizon. The reality is that clouds, hills and mountains mean we rarely get to see the kind of perfectly flat horizon where the curve will be most obvious. However, you can detect the curve of the Earth from ground level at the coast with a pair of binoculars. Just look for distant ships on the horizon, and you'll see that their hulls start to disappear before their masts. Ancient Greek scientists who spotted this without any optical aids used to conclude that the Earth was round. The Moon is an astronomical body that orbits planet Earth, being Earth's only permanent natural satellite. The phenomena that accompany it from its monthly cycles to lunar eclipses are well explained. It was quite a mystery to the ancient Greeks, and in their quest for knowledge they came up with a few insightful observations that helped humanity figure out the shape of our planet. Aristotle noticed that during lunar eclipses, when the Earth's orbit places it directly between the Sun and the Moon, creating a shadow in the process, the shadow on the Moon's surface is round. This shadow is the Earth's, and it's a great clue on the spherical shape of the Earth. If you place a stick in the ground, it will produce a shadow. The shadow moves as time passes, which is the principle for ancient shadow clocks. If the world had been flat, then two sticks in different locations would produce the same shadow. Imagine the sun's rays hitting two sticks some distance apart. If the Earth were flat, the resulting shadows would be the same length, no matter how far apart you put the sticks, but they don't. This is because the Earth is round and not flat. Regarding the flat ocean, it's flat on our small human scale, because the Earth is huge compared to us, so huge we have trouble conceiving it. This is down to the curve being very subtle. The time in England is currently 12:15 PM, and the sun is in the middle of the sky. In China the time is 23 minutes past 11, almost midnight, and the sun is nowhere to be found. We have time zones because when the sun is illuminating one side of the Earth, the other side is dark. This can only be explained if the world is round and rotating on its own axis. At a certain point when the sun is shining on one part of the Earth, the other side is dark and vice versa. That allows for time differences and time zones, specifically ones that are longer than 12 hours. Another point concerning time zones, the sun and Earth. If the sun was a spotlight and the world was flat, we would have seen the sun even if it didn't shine on top of us. The same way you can see the light coming out of a spotlight on a stage in a theatre, even though you the crowd are in the dark. The only way to create two distinctly separate time zones, where there is complete darkness in one where there is light in the other, is if the world is spherical. In the past 60 years of space exploration, we've launched satellites, probes and people to space. Some of them got back, some of them still floating through the solar system, and transmit amazing images over to our receivers on Earth, and in all the photos the Earth is spherical. The curvature of the Earth is also visible in many photos snapped by astronauts on the International Space Station.